Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into Cougar Nation here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte. We hold it down every Monday night, 6 to 7, talking BYU sports. Right now it's BYU basketball season, and it's a fascinating team to me because there were so many high expectations, Matt, for this group, because so much new with Kevin Young and just the unprecedented stuff that he was building and doing with this program that I think fans maybe let their minds wander a little bit and think, get a little bit, maybe put the cart before the horse. Or what's the saying? I don't know. But it felt like, they kind of put things, thought they were going to be a Elite Eight, Final Four team before games were played. But I do think that you're seeing positive signs from this team that leads you to believe that potential could be realized. And I think that Kevin Young has been consistent that he wants to see the best product in March. And I love that messaging because I've seen many BYU teams peak in January or December or February even. I want to see BYU basketball peak in March, and they're well positioned to do that.
This team is on the up, and if they can get enough quad one wins, they could very well be in the tournament. Tomorrow will be a good barometer for how much they've improved since losing at Utah, which seems like, gosh, that feels like it was weeks ago, but it was really, less than 10 days ago that they lost up in Salt Lake City. I don't blame the fans or anyone for the high expectations because you look at the roster and you could maybe say they're underperforming a bit, and some of that's due to the uneven play of Yegor. You haven't gotten high-quality play very often this season from Dallin Hall. Against Cincinnati, 0 points. He plays 20 minutes. 0-2 from the field. He does have 3-1 assist to turnover, but kind of not that impactful. So I think fans looked at the roster and said, Dallin Hall is going to improve. That, unfortunately, has not happened yet. And then you looked at the talent coming in. I think the expectations were fine to be an NCAA tournament team. Now, this team can still get there, Mitch, but they got to stack some wins. And there's positive signs, but tomorrow is really a critical juncture in the season. It's a home game. There's a lot of hard games left at home. And last season, BYU did a great job of winning a lot of those games. They did a fantastic job of defending home court at the Marriott. They got to do it again tomorrow night.
Let's dive in more to what's trending up and trending down with this BYU Hoops team.
Cougar Nation, trending. What's trending up and what's trending down this season?
You mentioned Dallin Hall, Matt. I'll start things off here. Trending down, we'll start on that side of things. Dallin Hall, I think, is trending down just a little bit because, you know what, and I say this, I asked Kevin Young about it earlier today. I said, is he in a little bit of a shooting rut? And Kevin Young didn't point to that. He pointed because, Dallin has not made a field goal in the last 3 games. He's not attempting much. Only 1 or 2 field goals at most. And last week's season low in minutes played. He only averaged 18 minutes per game in these past 2 games. But I think there's this feeling from the staff and hearing Kevin Young today that they got to create more opportunities for Dallin to be more aggressive with his shot and still look for it more. He's still getting assists. He's still putting up some numbers in the assist department in the minutes that he is playing. But I think offensively you want to see more from Dallin. And I'm very curious to see this week how Kevin Young and Dallin, when he does get his opportunities, how aggressive they look to be to get him more shot attempts because lately Dallin's been kind of a non-factor on the offensive end for BYU.
He's too passive right now. 2 field goals, give me a break. Like, Dallin Hall is a good offensive player, and he needs to be taking at least 5 field goals a game. I think there are times where he plays with Yegor, and I feel like he's too deferential to Yegor. It's okay to keep the ball. It's okay after a rebound to not push it up ahead to Yegor and let him run the offense. I don't think that's what anyone envisioned when they thought Yegor and Dallin together, what's it going to be? It should be a sharing of the point guard duties, and Dallin is a great teammate, Mitch, and he wants to get along with everybody, and he wants to do the right thing and make the right play, and I think he just needs a little dose of, I need to get mine a little bit. Be a little more selfish in some regards. Don't be reckless. Just be the Dallin Hall we saw against Oklahoma State a few weeks ago, where you're taking threes, you're making threes, you're being aggressive, getting to the rim. They need Dallin to be aggressive, and right now he's just being way too deferential.
I'm with you, and I think there's opportunities to be that guy. It's not like, it's going to be a detriment to the team. I think BYU, and as Kevin Young laid out today, they need him to they need to find ways to get Dallin some more shot attempts. So I think it's important for Dallin to be more aggressive on that end when he does get his minutes. What's trending down for you with BYU?
Foose. I think the impact of Foose right now is diminishing a little bit. He did not play many minutes in the win against Cincinnati, only 13. He had 4 points, 2 of 3. I think he will play a big role tomorrow. Baylor is physical, and they're going to need that physical presence from Foose. But just watching Foose in person over these past few weeks, he certainly has a great ability in a one-on-one low-post situation to score, but I find myself wanting more in terms of defense. I want better rim protection from Foose. We've seen it in his career. He can do it, but for whatever reason, I'm not feeling much impact when it comes to rim protection and when it comes to rebounding. I need him to be better in that regard, and I wonder if that's playing a little bit into the reduction of minutes that we've seen recently. Foose has got to find a way. If you're not scoring, you still need to be impactful. He's got a long wingspan. I mean, you look at Foose and he's undersized. He's 6'6". Dude's got a freaky wingspan.
Oh, yeah.
Like he can reject shots. He's just as good of a shot blocker as Keba Keita. If Keba's better, it's not by much. But I have not felt the presence of Foose on that end of the floor. He's got to pick it up defensively.
And it was difficult, too. Foose had a season-high 4 turnovers against Colorado, 2 turnovers again against Cincinnati. He's been having at least 2 turnovers in the last 4 games. He's got to tighten that up. Turnovers, it's critical for BYU to keep those in check. They've done a relatively good job of keeping those to a minimum, but still, I feel like if they can get some games where they're in single digits in turnovers, I think that would be a nice threshold for this team. That the margins aren't huge for this team, especially as the competition ramps up. What's trending up for you, Matt?
Speaking of the margins, what a segue, Mitch. It's like we've been doing the show together for a couple years now.
You know it.
The margins. What's one area of margin that you can and you should excel at every single night? Free throw shooting. And I liked what we saw against Cincinnati. 9 of 11. Didn't get there a lot. Got there more than Cincy, though. But when you get there, make those free throws. A couple of these losses, TCU, Utah, you look at the free throw shooting numbers, you're like, my goodness, if you just shoot 80% from the free throw line, you win these games. And we're having a totally different conversation right now. You'd be 6-2 in league play, near the top of the league, if you could just make some free throws. That is an area that BYU has struggled at of late in terms of the last couple years. They have to be better. There's gonna be games in the future, these quad one games, Mitch, where it's going to come down to a couple points and a couple possessions. And if you look back and lose that game because you went 7 of 14 from the free throw line, and that keeps you out of the NCAA tournament, think about that. If you just you could really boil it down to this in some of these losses, Mitch. If you just make your free throws, shoot 80% or better, you're going dancing. It's that simple. This is the difference in maybe 4 or 5 wins and losses. You just do that. So I liked what I saw against Cincinnati. It's trending up, but they got to continue to shoot it well because these quad one games, man, they're going to come down to the horn. And you talk about margins. What's one place where the margin, you're in control of the margin? It's getting to the free throw line and making those shots.
A guy that has been knocking down shots from the free throw line this season at a pretty good clip with the few times he gets there is Dawson Baker. He's trending up for me. He's shooting 73% from the free throw line this year, but I think from the field, looking at his stats, 58% from the field in conference play. Dawson Baker is a bucket when he comes off the bench. He's just doing a nice job. His floater game was on point against Cincinnati. This was Kevin Young on Dawson Baker, and his success making him feel more confident.
I think for him, coming from, a smaller level and then being injured last year, I'm sure he had some internal questions about, doing it at a higher level, and the more success he's had, I think it's growing his confidence even more.
It was pretty cool, too. Moments after that comment from Kevin Young, he pointed out that when he was in the NBA with the Suns, he was still following BYU from afar, and he came across Dawson's highlights and was impressed with Dawson coming out of UC Irvine. I just thought that was cool, and it was a little lens into how Kevin Young was really invested in BYU, even when he was in the grind of the NBA, keeping tabs on BYU. I thought that was pretty cool. And Kevin Young quietly, Matt, has given us these little hints of how he looks at Dawson Baker as maybe a guy that even late game situation, they turn to him as the one, to be a guy that they get for that last second bucket as they turn to him against Utah. They think very highly of Dawson Baker on this team.
He probably needs more minutes, especially with Dallin Hall being a little too passive. Dawson Baker's not passive, and that's exactly what you need from these guards opposite of Yegor. Yegor is unselfish. Yegor wants to get others involved. So you get the ball, let it rip. Get to the rim, shoot the shot. I love what we've seen Dawson do these past couple of games. Even in the loss against Utah, Dawson looked great. And I had no problem with them going to him late in that game, even though the shot did not fall. I love Dawson's attack mentality. He wants to score. He believes he is a great offensive player. It's exactly what this team needs. And I'd love to see him play more because I think offensively he's consistent. He can shoot the three. He can get to the rim. I'm with you. Dawson Baker's trending up. I love his game, man.
Dawson averaged 10 points per game last week, was 4 of 5 from three-point range. Really productive week for Dawson Baker. Cougar Nation sponsored by Central Bank, voted best bank and mortgage in Utah Valley. Visit them online at cbutah.com. BYU versus Baylor preview next, and still time to get on board with us. 801-575-8255. Share your thoughts on BYU basketball as they get ready to host the Baylor Bears tomorrow night right here on KSL.